Well, that game sucked. How you doing, folks? Yeah, we'll be talking about Anthony Volpe for sure. We'll also be talking about the runners in scoring position, Ben Rice. Yeah, we got a show planned for you. We just don't know how much of a show we have planned for you because there wasn't a ton to really talk about. I'll say this. I did like what I saw from Alan Winans until he hit that batter in the fourth inning. He was throwing a perfect game. What I take away from that guy can help you in a long reliever role out of the bullpen. He's probably just not a starter. Now, it is only one start this year. He's had 8 previous with other teams. But that just tells me, yeah, he's got some good stuff. He's quick to get, he generates actual soft contact, unlike Tim Hill. And, you saw him very economical, Gary, early on in the game. So we're going to talk about all that stuff. Before we get into that, though, be sure to like, subscribe, and comment. Also, feel free to drop a super chat if you want us to talk about something that's very pressing, or you just want us to say hi to you, whatever. But, Gary, we'll start off at the top here with runners in scoring position because that is ultimately where everybody has their attention. And I feel like it's funny. Every year we talk about this because the Yankees, I tweeted it out. Death, taxes, Yankees runners in scoring position. We talk about this every year, but there's always that one game that just gets people to talk about more than others. And this was the runners in scoring position game. I've already decided it was. And so today, with runners in scoring position, the Yankees did not do lick, okay? They went 0 for 12, Stanton 0 for 3, LeMahieu 0 for 1, Goldschmidt 0 for 2, Judge 0 for 2, Chisholm 0 for 2, Dominguez 0 for 1, and Volpe 0 for 1. So, Gary, what the hell's going on? Why is it no matter who's in this uniform? Are they cursed? Like, why is it no matter who's in this uniform, they cannot hit when runners are in scoring position?
I don't want anyone to tell me that we don't look at our regular chat, not just our supers. Dave, this is excellent. This is exactly my point. And for those of you who are listening on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, you're doing yourself a disservice, but of course I'll read it. Dave says it's not a curse. It's just the inconsistency of who's in the lineup. Goldie gets 2 days off. Now, mind you, one of those days was expected. We actually predicted one of them. And then that second day, and we were pleased. We saw Ben Rice in the lineup, right? But it wasn't at catcher. It was at first base again. And Ben Rice hit. He produced. And then last night we did a show, and I told you guys, I expect Ben Rice to take the day off today against the starter, the Lodolo, left-handed arm. He'll be out of the lineup. And then you'll see Paul Goldschmidt in there. And we had no idea how Goldie would be used, right? We had no idea how anyone would be used. Anthony Volpe had a scheduled day off. We'll talk about it more in depth here in a second, but no one really understood off a 3 for 4 day. How are the Yankees going to project confidence into him? Were they going to skip out on that confidence? Was he going to be at the bottom of the lineup? And then you show up today against the Reds and he's hitting 6th. Why is he hitting 6th? I have no idea. No one has any idea except the people in the clubhouse. So I bring this chat to you because when people say, why does a Yankees team who's got a lot of talent, who is scoring a lot of runs, remember, we're top 5 in baseball in runs scored, and yet when runners are in scoring position, suddenly this team is allergic to hitting. They just are. And it's very streaky. We're a streaky offense. You hate to say that because we podcast about this team every day, and you would love to see a higher baseline of performance, especially with the bats. But I'm here to tell you guys right now, it's not for no reason. It's not a curse. This is just baseball. They're not cursed. They are dealing with a poor habit of coming to the field and no one knows who's going to be used when and where, how, why. No one understands it. So again, Alex Rodriguez brings up the point all the time. Yes, we loved coming to the field. We loved knowing you're going to see Jeter. You're going to see Damon. You're going to see me. You're going to see Matsui, right? And there's just predictability of coming to the yard and just knowing where you're going to be hitting, why you're doing it. And when there's an adjustment, there's a reason behind that that's easily provided some type of explanation. So Dave, love that. Completely agree. It bothers me that we have so much variation with our offense. We're still scoring overall, but there's no reason to show up in a series with the Reds, go 0 for 12 with runners in scoring position, essentially outside Aaron Judge and Cody Bellinger, who had 3 knocks again today. We did nothing. It was a nothing burger baseball game.
Yeah, it was boring as hell. Rich, enough of the musical lineups. The team needs stability to produce. Appreciate you. Member of 9 months, by the way. If you are a member, you do get kind of free reign here. So you can just throw these in there and you don't even have to drop a super chat. That's part of being a member as well. That is a perk. That is definitely a perk. And Rich is taking advantage of that one.
I love this Kyle, from Kyle.
Gold Glover awesome. My ass. Volpe sucks. So obviously, I'm not going to say Volpe sucks, right? But does he infuriate me? Yes. And I will be the first one to tell you, I said this all year. I said this at the beginning of the year. I'm like, Volpe's glove is overrated. And he has a weaker arm. And all of a sudden, it feels like over the course of the year, he's just getting worse and worse and worse. But here's the issue here, Gary. He's not really getting worse when you think about it. The arm is still as weak as ever. He's just now not as good, like actually gloving the baseball. That's what he's struggling with. So when he's having those moments or he's not, charging a slow roller or whatever, now that arm strength is even under the microscope. We saw that today. We saw the accuracy. It's not good right now, but it's not all Volpe, right? Because it's just not. You don't only score 1 run after your captain gets you. I mean, when do the Yankees lose when they have a home run in the first inning? When do they lose those games? Seriously.
I mean, they don't. But, I mean, I don't want to make it seem like we can't talk about Volpe. Just from
no,
the
that's not what I'm saying.
A lot
but
of
I know
times
you want to talk
happens,
about Jazz, too. Like his approach and, so.
Yes, but this isn't the NBA. Like, I think we all understand that when you lose, and this game wasn't close. We just got absolutely annihilated by the Cincinnati Reds. And mind you, the Reds, before the series even started, I actually used this team as almost like a team of jabronis. Now, mind you, they're not a bad team. But the point is, they're above 500 team. They're absolutely by no stretch of anyone's imagination a team that's going to push you. This is just an average baseball club. They are. And maybe they get better. But I guess the point here is that we can talk about each individual player as to what they do for the team rather than making it seem like, well, they're a topic because it's the reason we lost today. No, Anthony Volpe is just a topic because he was one of our top prospects, if not the. He was the guy that we protected from trades, and they told me, Gary, you're insane for even considering moving this player, right? And I said, all right, I really like the guys that are out there on the market, but, I digress. If you're telling me that this is what we should be buying into, I've described Volpe as a solid player that's probably going to hang around Major League Baseball. By the way, that means you're good at baseball. It does. But given the role, it's just like we talk about it all the time. When you're supposed to play quarterback for the Dallas Cowboys, it's not good enough to just be league average. Just not. You're going to be judged at a higher, maybe that's fair or not, right, with Dak Prescott. But the point is that people look at you and have a certain level of expectation. So what's happening is a lot of podcasters, I've seen this many times now, people are saying, well, maybe Volpe doesn't just suck. He's just not good in comparison to what the expectations were. People are saying that he's like, not Ozzie Smith, but he's this guy who's Gold Glove caliber. You could just pencil him in. He's going to be a lock over there at shortstop. I'm here to tell you right now, I watch the Yankees every single day. I watch every pitch. When I'm walking around the mall on a Tuesday afternoon, and mind you, I can't miss these games. We podcast these, Jake. I've got the game right in front of me. And I see each and every ground ball that's hit to Volpe. I'm here to tell you right now, it's not played at an elite level. It is not. So having said that, he's not making up for it with the arm. When he gets on base, he's been thrown out stealing 7 times. Okay, this is not a speed player. He's been hosed 7 times on the base pass. He's stolen 8 bases. Do you remember when he came into this league and we were telling him, oh, we'd love to see maybe 30 or 40 stolen bases. Maybe have him hit leadoff in front of Aaron Judge. That's dead. Completely dead. He's not a leadoff hitter. I feel comfortable right now telling you, at no point in the future will Anthony Volpe be hitting anywhere from 1 to 5 in this lineup. I think it would be ridiculous for that ever to happen. And I hate to say that. I want this to work. That doesn't mean I hate him. But the point is, he's not very good defensively. He's honestly not. He's probably just slightly above average. And as the game goes on into the 7th or 9th, and I actually told you, Jake, I would love to see what the analytics say about defense after the 7th inning. Defense in division games.
There's gotta be
Defense
something
in
out
games determined by 2 or fewer runs. What type of defense does he get then? I would imagine it's not very good. So you look up and you say that, and then you turn around and say the guy's a career 220 hitter. He's not hitting 40 jacks a year. So I'm not going to say he sucks. I won't agree with that. But will I say he's good? No, I won't.
No, it's right now it's not good. And Volpe is hitting 233, which is 10 points below the league average. He's got a 306 on base. He's actually slugging more than Dominguez, but Dominguez has a 333 on base all of a sudden. Like, I could actually understand why you would want him 9th or want him 1st because of the speed, the way he works counts. Like, I do get that. And, you know, again, it goes back to what I was saying the other day. I do genuinely feel bad that we even have to have a discussion about Jason Dominguez because he doesn't have pop. He's a good player. My issue has been the fielding, because if you don't have the pop and you're a bad fielder, that's an issue. But as far as I'm concerned, Volpe is no different. As a matter of fact, it might even be worse because Volpe is somebody that's going to get a pass no matter what, whereas Jason Dominguez is somebody I wouldn't be surprised if he was traded at the deadline.
Do you know the difference? The only difference between Jason Dominguez, now mind you, Jason Dominguez is the more talented player because his talent is hitting, whereas the other player, his talent's field. Do you have any idea how much easier it is to replace a glove than a bat? It's not even close. It's actually not. So having said this, the difference between the situation that Dominguez finds himself in right now and will probably find himself in next year is what's behind him. Jason Dominguez is in the outfield. He's not a good defensive outfielder. But here's the catch, Jake. We've talked about this many times on our show, but we're going to go a little deeper dive today. They have options in the outfield. Trent Grisham is hitting of late. His overall numbers, he's hitting 250. He's going to hit 25 plus homers this year. So all career highs, right? You've also got the MVP and Aaron Judge, right? You've also got Cody Bellinger, who's going to have a better season than Jason Dominguez. So when you consider that, the Yankees have directions that they can go. What direction do the Yankees have to go from shortstop right now? You could throw what, Peraza over there? Peraza hadn't done a lick with his bat. And yes, you can say defensively, he's been really good over at third base. Maybe you can argue that defense can shift over to short, but there's still no one on this roster that we would trust to hit at shortstop. So, I think the difference, maybe he can attempt to play shortstop. I guess the point is that options behind a player also matter to their development. If Jason Dominguez had no Cody Bellinger out there, or Trent Grisham wasn't included in that Soto trade, we're probably just throwing Jason out into the outfield no matter what. Lefty, righty, right? If he's struggling, if he's hitting, he would just be out there. And I think that's the situation we find ourselves in. Volpe is just okay, but we don't have squat behind him. So we're sort of forced to throw an okay player out into the field, and people get mad at us for bringing it up.
I thought today was kind of funny how, Ellie De La Cruz and Anthony Volpe, both top prospects in their farm system, although I think Volpe was a higher rated prospect in all of baseball.
I'm not sure. I would love to see that.
But you see the difference. They both have errors. Not when you're playing in Cincinnati, because that scorekeeper, I don't think, had one error handed out. Volpe definitely should have had the throwing error, which they called a hit for Trevino. And then Michael Kay was like, he's going to bat 400. And then,
certainly Volpe is a better defensive player than Ellie. I mean, Ellie is just raw talent. He's almost, what do I call him? He's almost like a showcase shortstop where they're going to put the eye black on and they're going to hold the ball and just huck it.
Do you know who he is?
Who?
He's Anthony Richardson.
Oh, yeah. Yes.
He's just
you're talking about
he's
Colts
just
Anthony
throwing
Richardson.
Missiles, but like they're nowhere
He's a raw
near.
talent. He was the draw today. He was the most fun player to watch on the field. Obviously, what he's paid to do is what he does with the bat, with the legs.
But that's
and
the thing.
He brings it. Yeah.
That's the difference between Volpe and Ellie De La Cruz. is that they both can have their days struggling in the field, but Elly De La Cruz is going to give you 272 batting average. He's going to give you 348 on base. He's going to give you excitement. His speed changes games. He changed this game. Like I said,
the difference between Elly and Volpe is one player is mediocre and the other player is not.
The one player, Volpe is a guy. He is part of a system. Elly is the system. He is the reason you're not out there to watch Gavin Lux. I couldn't even believe he gave a home run to Gavin Lux. I was so pissed. But yeah, the whole point I'm making here is that Elly De La Cruz broke open today's game. He's a big reason why. And you talk about the speed. Paul O'Neill brought it up. He's just always a threat. I mean, even that Dominguez throw, I wasn't like right on the money, but like you could see the arm strength in left field. I mean, that is a plus, right? And you had no chance of getting out Elly De La Cruz because he tags and he's teleporting home. He's so fast. So
yeah, that's how you should look at your players. In tools don't win you games. They just don't. But when players put it together, those tools become a game changer. We talked about this with Jazz Chisholm, and I want to talk about this player because today he was power hitter, Jazz Chisholm. Today, you actually saw a situation where it was clear as day. The Yankees could have really used a home run. So what did Jazz do? He showed up to the plate, and he tried to hit a home run. Well, I'm here to tell you right now, when Jazz Chisholm's trying to hit home runs, he's not a good player. He's just not. But when he's trying to be this overall asset, someone who's trying to change the game with his legs, go gap to gap, he can spray a ball the other way. There should be no world where Jazz shows up and goes 0 for 4 with 3 punchies. Shouldn't exist. But it does. The broadcast can literally watch you and just describe it. Oh, he was trying to tie the game right there. Oh, that was not the 70% swing. That was the 100. And they were saying it lightheartedly. They weren't criticizing him. But I certainly will criticize the jump of mentality of trying to play the game the right way and then playing above yourself. He's not good enough to play, at that next level where he's trying to do too much. He's just not that. Jazz has to play at this certain level. And you watch when a player who has legs, right, who can run, change the game, like game-changing speed, doesn't help you hitting pop-ups, hitting fly balls into the outfield, just doesn't. So, yeah, it's a refreshing watch. As much as it killed us today, when you see a player on the other side who understands how they want to play.
Yeah, just line drive hitters are just so much more fun to watch. I say it all day. I would take Elly De La Cruz brand of offense over anybody's in the league except for Judge. I mean, he is literally just a line drive hitter. If it's a home run, nice. He does have the power, but he's also somebody that's going to hit you, and he hit a home run today. But he's somebody that's going to hit you with a triple. He's going to flirt with the cycle any one of his 3-4 hit games. I mean, that's just the reality of it because he's so fast and you have to respect him on the base paths. And also, he's a weapon. I mean, this is somebody we've seen him. You pop it up in center field. If you don't watch Reds baseball, I'll tell you right now, I've watched it before. Elly De La Cruz is fearless. He will literally tag up at first and advance to second. You know how nobody does that on the Yankees? Elly De La Cruz is always doing that. So that's the type of thing you're getting out of that type of player. And it's just crazy. It's a huge advantage. Did we talk about Ed W, or did you skip over this?
No, I think so. Let me go ahead and read it. So Ed W's been a member for 10 months. Thank you, Ed, for getting involved. Says it's not just getting out with runners in scoring position. It's the K's. Unproductive and bad situational hitting. Now, mind you,
I agree.
In today's game, you guys have to be careful with who you're asking to get situational outs, right? Jazz, it's unacceptable if we can fail situationally. He's way too talented in terms of his tools, right? He's a guy who should be a contact guy. He should be able to do anything you ask, right? Paul Goldschmidt, if he gets up there, Cody Bellinger, Aaron Judge, you should have high expectations for situational hitting. But one of the worst at-bats we saw today where we needed a situational out, anything to the outfield, Giancarlo Stanton came up there. And I'm going to actually throw up, so I see in the comment section 99/22, I wanted to throw that into our actual screen because this brings it up. So I see the real question is why Rice isn't playing over Stanton. Now, Jake, you were upset not to see Ben Rice today, and I think that's a fair assessment. You're allowed to feel that way. I thought it was more predictable to happen, not saying I would do that, but I thought it would happen given what we saw. The only way he was going to be out there really is if you're just deciding Stanton, who normally hits lefties, is just not going to play. Now, very difficult to say because you brought up the point. Jason Dominguez, he doesn't hit lefties really either. So far in his career, he hasn't shown he can do that, and yet they went with Jason Dominguez over Ben Rice.
And why did they do that? What is the thing they keep saying? Keep saying to give it time, because even though he's not a switch hitter and we all know it, and he's a really good left-handed bat, like has really good promise there, but as a right-handed bat, he's just an auto out. Even though that's the case, okay? Because by the way, in case you're wondering, Ben Rice has better splits against lefties than Jason Dominguez has batting from the right side, okay? It's not much better. Like, we're talking about comparable here. But the difference here is that Ben Rice is just bad, right? People just say, like, he's bad. He can't hit lefties.
Do it. They told us it won't happen. It's almost like, remember when I brought up Jake Lamb to you? Like Jake Lamb with the Diamondbacks.
Oh,
he couldn't hit lefty on lefty, and they just gave up. They're like, we're not even going to let him do it.
I don't like that, because then they're like Jason Dominguez. They're like, oh, well, we got to – he could be a real asset as a switch hitter. He's going to hit righties. We just got to stick with him. It's like you're doing the same thing, but you're calling it something different. And to be honest with you, it's not the same thing, because Ben Rice needs to be an everyday player. He needs to learn how to hit lefties. Hate to break it to you, that's just the reality of the situation. And Jason Dominguez doesn't need to be a switch hitter. He just doesn't, okay? I don't care that he did in the minors. This is the major leagues. Alan Winans hadn't even given up a run the last 18 innings in the minors, okay? He comes to the big leagues, and now he gives up 4 runs. Not saying they were all his fault. Of course, there was the Ian Hamilton came in and gave up that run. But my point being is that it is a different ballgame when you get to the major leagues. And what we've seen is that Ben Rice can hit lefties. Can he hit them consistently? No. But it's also because he's had less than 60 at-bats against lefties, okay?
Yeah, I'd say he hasn't hit them consistently. It's not that he can't. Now, mind you, maybe he can't. Maybe he won't. Yeah,
but
that's certainly a thing that can happen. Jason Dominguez may not ever figure out how to hit left-handed pitching, and we don't mean never get a hit. All of these guys will get hits. They will have 2 for 4 days. They will have 3 hit days. We saw Anthony Volpe do it just the other day after one of the coldest stretches you've ever seen. He continued that today. But the point is that you can't look at one young player and say, well, he doesn't do this well, so I'm going to go away from it and create a platoon situation with that exact player. Then turn around with your top prospect and say, oh, no, I know it's horrible over there, but it'll just get better. You guys wait and see. Well, why? It wasn't better in the minor leagues. It's not like it was good in high A and then bad in double A and figured it out in triple A, and then he got here and it disappeared. No, he was hitting well, really well lefty, not good at all righty, and you're just telling me to wait around. So to answer that question as to why we didn't see Ben Rice, I think given the type of prospect Ben Rice was, they're more, shall I say, okay creating a platoon situation out of Ben Rice rather than Jason Dominguez. And the production so far from Jason Dominguez doesn't show nearly enough pop to possibly give him the leash and not another player. I don't get it.
Yeah, I don't get it either. I would have played him over Austin Wells. I know he had the double, but I just don't think you can justify in you've lost 8 of the last 11 it was. I don't think you can justify not having one of your best hitters, a guy who's had 5 hits in the last 2 games, having him on your bench. I just thought that was a misfire.
Do you think that scheduling had anything to do with this? Because mind you, right, we're going on 14 days in a row of baseball. We're going to get to 16, and we'll finally have our day off on Thursday. And you can make the argument that Aaron Boone's trying to make good lineups. I'm not going to make excuses for him because I didn't love the idea that Ben Rice is out of the lineup. But do you think that maybe playing all these days in a row has anything to do with the fact of why they're basically doing a rotation everywhere?
Yeah, I get that. But at the same time, I think this is also what's really, it's almost like playing whack-a-mole, right? Because on one hand, you're like, oh, awesome, we can give Paul Goldschmidt a day. But now think about this, Okay. Ben Rice played 2 days in a row. Goldschmidt was on the pine. Okay. In those 2 days, he had 5 hits. He doesn't play today. Paul Goldschmidt's back in. But now, Paul Goldschmidt is ice cold. Paul Goldschmidt is rusty. And Goldschmidt goes 0 for 5 today. I thought some of those at-bats, he definitely looked a lot better than just an 0 for 5 day. But the point being is that it almost creates nonstop where it's like you just can't hit the mole. That's why I call it whack-a-mole. You can't figure it out, because when you sit a player, okay, you're taking him out of his rhythm if he has one. Right now, Goldschmidt's not in any sort of rhythm. He's just not.
Clint Frazier said there is no rhythm. That's when I understand what Clint Frazier, what he was trying to say and how it looks. I'm aware of it. Yeah. I understand when you work at an establishment and you quit or you get fired, and all of a sudden 3 or 4 years later you want to start talking about your old job, doesn't make you look very good, even if you're accurate. Now, his assessment was that the Yankees essentially will watch you go 3 for 3 in a day. And if they don't like the matchup the following day, your 3 for 3 day doesn't mean squat when it comes to writing the lineup the following day. That's essentially the gist of it. And if you guys want to listen to that whole interview, you certainly can do it. But the point is, when you watch a player like Ben Rice give you 3 knocks, then the following day he gives you 2, leaves the ballpark, goes upper deck at Yankee Stadium, you probably think to yourself, that must bode well, right, for the young player. When he walks up to the stadium, right, they get on the flight, fly Delta all the way to Cincinnati, he's probably feeling a bit of confidence. And yet, he finds himself not only outside the lineup. I know for certain Ben Rice had no idea whether or not he would play today. No clue. He has no idea. And Jake, if I asked you who's DHing tomorrow, we would genuinely have no clue. It could be Ben Rice. It could be Jason Dominguez. It could be Aaron Judge. We don't know who's doing what over here. And the 610 stick, thank you for the 5, says Volpe's 3-hit game with 2 bloopers. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, they were absolute Judy singles. They still count in the books, but they weren't hit very hard. Still can't charge the ball. Jake, you've talked about that. Second base arm.
It's so frustrating. Thank you for mentioning Gold that, glove. By the way.
Yeah, fake Gold Glove. We'll bring up those numbers as well because we've got them. And errors, always critical spot. So again, sort of circling back to the point I was making is that it doesn't feel like defensively Volpe elevates in clutch situations. Now, mind you, I don't want to make it seem like he's just the devil in the clutch because he did hit last October. So it doesn't seem like clutch gene completely eludes him. But I will say, for somebody more than likely, when you call them a great defensive player, that tends to be greatness is consistent. His glove's not consistent. It's interesting to watch. I don't know if there's many players I would describe like this, but what do you think about the idea? Because I actually want to pose a question by reading this chat. He mentioned second base arm. George Lombard Jr., while he so far isn't raking in Double-A, he has been called up very soon, which is promising, right? And you see the defensive highlights every day. It seems like the Yankees are starting to prep him for shortstop. Clearly the glove, and more importantly here, the arm from Lombard Jr. looks awesome. Now, the question is, if George Lombard Jr. breaks into the major leagues with the Yankees and he's hitting, he's fielding the way that we're watching him field in the minors, do you think the Yankees are open-minded to moving Volpe over to second base, or do you think they're going to be hard-headed?
This is tough because, like, I want to say, yeah, you know, they'd be open, but I just worry, like, when you listen to Boone, it doesn't feel like there's any sort of, and again, I understand he doesn't want to throw anybody under the bus. He's a player's manager, but it doesn't look like there's any sort of concern there about Volpe, like ever. Like anytime he gets questioned about him, you know, he's defensive. He's actually been on podcasts where he's defended Volpe even when he was playing.
What has he said
crap.
Roughly? Like, because I do not listen to any other podcasts. I mean, we've got our own, so I just don't do that.
No, I get you. It was like stuff from like last year. Remember when he was, you know, questions like, yeah, why can't Volpe get a day? And he's like, well, because he's like a top 5 defensive. I forget how he worded it, but I remember the gist of it. So it's essentially speaking, you guys are underrating the value of a great defensive shortstop. He has a ton of value for us, even if he's not hitting. But
I don't really understand the concept. I don't really care what Boone or anybody else has to say about Anthony Volpe. All I care about, what do you do about it? When Aaron Boone shows up to the field, his job isn't to tell me what he thinks about this player. Just show me. Show me where he hits in the lineup.
Show me, don't tell me.
Show me, right. I don't really care what you think. Show me what you're going to do. Now, if I look up every single day and I say, well, this player is going to play 158 games, barring health, right? He's going to play 99% of the time. Oh, that player is the shortstop for the Yankees. He must be great. You're going to pencil in anybody that often? He must be a great, sure thing option. He's not. He's really not. Anthony Volpe is a streaky baseball player, and he's not a power guy. So, I don't know. I think I don't want to overrate or just put too much stock into what Boone says, because Boone's not going to come out and say what I may say or what the 6'10" Stig may say. He's not going to come out and be like, those 2 hits they didn't really count. They're not going to come and just cut it to a straight. They're just going to be nice. But all that really matters, the only thing we should really care about, is when we show up to the field, do players have to perform well consistently to actually be out onto the field? If the answer is no, then you should ask, why is that? It's very frustrating.
Also, you mentioned Clint Frazier earlier. It's got to be frustrating for Clint Frazier to know that, he had a 761 OPS with the Yankees, hit 239, 327 on base. And he's considered the guy that didn't work out. But then he's looking around and he's like, wait, these guys are all getting opportunities left and right, and they're not even doing as well as that. I mean,
that was considered. Do you remember the narrative
bad
about his glove? Do you remember that? Now, mind you, I don't say narrative like this isn't like J.K. Rowling, where it's just like a made-up story. No.
Yeah.
He was in right field playing poor defense. He was. And I was watching that. Now, mind you, he made some diving plays. He started to get a bit of confidence, but still who he wasn't a great defensive player. He just wasn't. Now, having said that, it's so ironic that just a couple years into the future, our top prospect, Jason Dominguez, and you've sort of brought up the numbers and the comparisons, and Jason Dominguez is going to have a better career than Clint Frazier, but it's just so funny how certain players, they're like, oh, the defense is just absolutely putrid. It's just not getting any better, and they can't stop talking about it, and yet our top guy in left field is rated, at least analytically, as one of the worst defensive players in the sport. So, ironic.
I will always say this, okay? Clint Frazier was unfairly treated. He was a scapegoat. And hear me out, okay? His fielding was actually underrated, Gary.
Why do you say that?
Because look.
I never even thought about Baseball Savant back in this page. Like, in this era, never thought about it.
So I didn't see ahead of time if it drops off, and I'm sure it does. He had a concussion that really kind of messed him up. There was a whole big thing about that. But, I mean, you look at this chase rate, 100 percentile. You look at the walk rate. This is a guy that they should have tried to figure out how to use. And he was showing, you see, above 67 percentile. This is not a bad player.
Yeah, this is also during the COVID season. I'm going to tell you right now, it's about to look like the damn Titanic, I would assume.
It probably is, but also, I think he got the concussion in 2021. Okay, so I mean, yeah. So, but you still see, he didn't play as much. But you do see like the walk percentage is there, the chase rate is there. Yeah,
he was terrible. He was terrible.
This was not great.
Yeah, he was bad.
But yeah, you can kind of see though how there were people that were always kind of on his back, and I did want to give him some props because it wasn't like this dude just oh yeah, they were hyping him for no reason. They traded Andrew Miller for him for no reason. I mean, there was a moment in time right around here where you did see the potential, and they really, I mean, he had 810 at bats for his career. So I mean, it's not like he played a ton.
Yeah, but we're also, I told this to you yesterday, like the Yankees don't have time to deal with players that need time. Like anytime you look at a player and he's just, like for example, Jason Dominguez is not a great player right now. He's just not, but he's also very young. Well, what if in next year and the year after that, he's still just like slightly above league average offensively, but still below average defensively? maybe with the Diamondbacks or some other team in baseball, right? Fill in the blank. He can go play for the Giants, and they'll just wait around until he figures it out because they're not used to going into the postseason every single year. Whereas the Yankees need you to be great sooner rather than later. You need to fit their window. So that's part of what works against guys like Clint Frazier. The problem for him, the messenger is just wrong. It's not going to be well received. Some people ate it up and thought, oh, it makes a lot of sense. Then there's a lot of people, and Jake, I saw a lot of this on X. People are like, what's he know about the Yankees? They took it like personal, like someone was talking about their mother. It's ridiculous. Guys, it's a player who played on the damn baseball team. He's allowed to say his opinion.
Not that long ago either. I mean, he played under Boone his whole career.
He's allowed. It doesn't matter how good you are. You certainly, if you were in any locker room, you have enough experience to have the authority to talk about what went on. You're allowed to have opinions. So just because he didn't hit 300, now he can't talk? Okay.
I do always find it funny, though, because people act like he was terrible, right? They the way it's talked about with him is ridiculous because you go back and you look, and every single year he was hitting above 260 when he first actually started playing, right? And like I said, the concussion happens, and he hits 186, and all of a sudden he's not the same player. And okay, you move on from the player, whatever, right? But he had a 905 OPS before the concussion. He had an 806 the year before that. Like, could you imagine? And like, really, hear me out here. Could you imagine that player on this team right now? And that's what I mean is that we're making all these excuses for Volpe. I'm not saying you and I, but all these excuses are made about like, oh yeah, his WRC plus is really good and he's OPS and whatever. It's like, hold on a second. You mean to tell me that we're making, and keep in mind, I just showed you when Clint Frazier was fully healthy and was at his best, he was an above average defender and he was in the 90 percentile batting value, right? I just showed you that. Well, with Anthony Volpe, he's got barely above a 700 OPS. And Jason Dominguez has barely over a 700 OPS, right?
Yeah, he's getting more hits, but he's not slugging. So there you have it.
That's the thing is that it's like you do have a bunch of people that make excuses for that, but then those same people, and I know that they were the same people because everybody hated on Clint Frazier, they act like he was chopped liver, and I mean, this dude was hitting in the 800 and 900 OPS range. So I'm just saying, like, it should be a reminder that just because you like a guy, and I did this for a while with Peraza, doesn't necessarily mean he's as good as you want him to be.
I don't like anyone.
I know you don't.
He doesn't even like me.
No, I'm kidding.
I promise you guys, there is not one player on the Yankees, not one person. If Aaron Judge started hitting 210 the rest of this year, 210 all of 2026, 205 all of 2027, I'd be like, we need to do something. I wouldn't ever, just because of my fondness of a person, ignore the output. I feel like this is my job, is not to give you guys options of what we can do in the lineup based on who I like. I'm not going to look at Ben Rice and say, something about that kid, I just really like him. Get him out there, Boone. No. All of my explanations are going to be X's and O's. 100% of them. And some people are going to say some of them are wrong, completely off base. By all means, that's part of the fun of baseball. But when you look up at Clint Frazier, I look at it and say, well, he didn't do enough, in recent times to be a part of the Yankees' future. The Yankees had to win right there and then now. You get rid of him. Nothing personal. And now he's allowed to put a mic in his face and say, hey, the mentality over there, I thought I actually had something a little going there. Maybe you can ride on that momentum, and they refused to do that. And then he believed all of that. Then watched Anthony Volpe go 3 for 4, and they're like, no, scheduled day off tomorrow, right? You start to see some of the evidence of what he's saying. So, yeah, we won't go too long on about it, but the point is this Yankees team, some of what's being said by our former players is materializing right in front of your guys' faces. Now, we can't do anything with it. We're just on YouTube, but the point is, at least we can start to draw some conclusions as to why we maybe aren't the most consistent offense. One day we're the top 5 offense in baseball. We should be happy about that. And then all of a sudden 2 weeks later, you're like, oh, we got a lot of ball to play this next 3 weeks. No days off. We're thinking we're going to rake the whole time. And sure enough, you have no idea who's playing when, where, why. We've got a lot of guys struggling offensively right now. So Ed W with the 2 says, and for all of Volpe's shittiness, I don't know. Wells' numbers are worse. So, yeah.
He meant and for all Volpe shittiness, Wells is actually worse. Like, believe it or not.
It was like a Yoda sentence.
Yeah, he was using leet when you use numbers to communicate. But okay.
Yeah, Wells technically is given what you need to be good at, which more times than not, the most important thing for a catcher, and throwing is very important in postseason baseball. But in regular season ball, framing is probably the most important thing that you can have. Framing and blocking. Well, Austin Wells is very good at that. Now, does it mean he's so good? He's not Johnny Bench back there. It's not Pudge Rodriguez. But the point remains that, yeah, Anthony Volpe's playing the most important position in the field. He's your shortstop. It's not great, guys. I'm not here to sell you guys that he sucks at baseball. He doesn't suck at baseball. But if your expectations were to see a great player play short for the Yankees because maybe you watched Jeter, right? Maybe you looked around baseball and said, well, they've got Lindor, right? Oh, they've got Seager. Or then you look across the field and you see Ellie and you see some special talent. If you're expecting Anthony Volpe at any point in the future to show what those guys can show you on a weekend or maybe for a month and a half, I promise you that day is not coming. Your expectations should be taken down a notch and just understand this player for what he is. He is not great, but at times, maybe 2-3 week stretches, he can be a good player.
Yeah, all I know is that IKF would really help this offense right now.
People were pissed no, I shouldn't say people because that implies it was most people. There were some people who were like, IKF, hell no.
No, it was the worst thing they saw. It kind of coincides with what I was saying about Clint Frazier. It's like, you told me what he was doing was not acceptable, but yet you accept this. So where is the bar? Where is the bar? Seriously. Because, like, I feel like there are just some players that just can't get out of getting just lashed at. I mean, everyone was on Verdugo, and rightfully so. Everyone was on DJ LeMahieu last year, and rightfully so. But there are other players that struggle, and it was like Volpe. I think Volpe is a very love-hate player right now. And obviously we don't hate Volpe, but you get what I'm saying is that he's a very polarizing player where people that really love this player, they are on social media all day defending him. They're using like waffle and bacon and all sorts of, crazy,
most of it's quiet.
Sabermetrics.
Most of it is just waiting for their day. I understand what you're saying. There's certainly a crowd, especially on Twitter, where there are a lot of 19-year-olds, 20-year-olds, right? They're in college. They're starting to learn how to use their Texas Instruments calculator. And they're essentially trying to figure out a way to maneuver the conversation way out into left field. And they'll convince you that anyone is good, just as long as they like the player and they have aspirations to convince you of so. But most of it, like most people that you see on social media or that you'll talk to who are Yankees fans, most people who really just love Anthony Volpe, they'll just sit there in silence while he's one of the worst baseball players you'll ever watch for 5 weeks. And then obviously Michael Kay described it on his show. Great show to watch. He said he's a streaky player. Streaky just means you can be bad for an extended period of time. Yeah. And then for absolutely no reason whatsoever, without announcement, you just turn into a good player, and then all of a sudden everyone says, oh, I love watching this. Where's this been? And then it turns on, and like a faucet, it just shuts off. Right then and there. Will shut off. And so you have to ask yourself, is the streaky player, is their ceiling high enough where you're willing to put up with the streakiness? For me personally, it is absolutely not. 100% I would be off of Anthony Volpe. As a future Yankee, I am 100% done with this. I am. I'm going to root for it to work. I'm going to root to be wrong. But do I think I want to look up 5 years from now and still see Anthony Volpe taking ground balls at shortstop for the Yankees? Maybe second base could be a better option for us long term. Maybe. But we need more talent in the room to play shortstop behind him, because right now, Peraza's not it. I don't think Jazz is it defensively. I think he could be fine at third, hell, even second base. But the Yankees need something better over there, before I can get some confidence.
So with Anthony Volpe, do you know what his runners in scoring position is for his career?
Batting average wise? Well, he's a career 223 hitter. I'm going to assume... I have no idea, so I'm trying to think this through. He does ground out into the shift with nobody on quite a bit. I'm going to guess as a 220 hitter, his batting average with runners in scoring position is a tick higher at 230, like 235. Not good, but 235. Final answer.
22 points lower, 213.
213. So when people ask, why do we struggle with runners in scoring position? Well, you have somebody, and I saw it right here from the 6'10 Stig, says doesn't help Volpe always hit six. Always runners in scoring position. Well, his career tells you we have a 20% chance to drive in that runner.
That's awful.
Because you read players' ops. You remember that? Before we started this show, you were like, did you know his ops with runners in scoring position? And I really thought to myself, ops is important. That's an important stat.
But maybe not in that situation.
Do you need slugging with a man on second base? We need a hit.
Because you do it the right way. You're looking at it from, okay, if his career batting average is 229,
yes,
then anything above that means he's a better hitter with runners in scoring position for whatever reason, which is a positive. But
correct.
Lower than that means that the pressure in some facet, bigger moments, higher leverage gets to him. So
correct.
That makes sense. I mean, his we saw the home run in the World Series, and he has had those moments, but I mean, everything is right here, and it goes to show you that he does struggle in those kind of high
like
leverage.
A Boone saying, everything is right here.
Yeah, well, I'm just saying. I mean, I will say, by the way, Anthony Volpe hits 219, batting sixth. I just wished if we were going to use analytics, why don't we look at the fact that Anthony Volpe, when he's batting seventh or eighth, he has a OPS over 750, which he doesn't have for any other spot.
He is the definition of a 7 through 9 hitter in baseball. He can run a little bit.
Like the rating meter.
No.
He is literally a 7.
If you had to, mind you still have to be decent at baseball to be anywhere in the 1 through 9, especially for a contender team that wants to win the World Series, let alone that is.
Yeah.
But when you put someone 1 through, first off, I think Yes Network kind of broadcasts as our top 3, right? Then they mention the middle of the lineup, right? And the middle is 4, 5, 6, guys. 4, 5, 6. Why is Anthony Volpe, who was 0 for 24, literally 2 days ago, had 2 bleeder singles, hit a home run, which we were very happy about. We gave him credit for it. You watched all of that. You put Anthony Volpe in what would be described by our home broadcast as the middle of the lineup. What are you doing? It doesn't make sense. It doesn't. I'm sorry. It does not make sense, Jake. There's no explanation. He should be hitting 8th and just hide his behind down there, and then when Volpe gets streaky again, you know what you do? You don't use it as a time to promote him into the middle again, or maybe even to the top. You leave it as an opportunity to say, okay, he can just be what he's going to be down there and just let it be. But to have him come up with Giancarlo and Jazz running the bases, like when those guys have it going, they're on base often. Do I want Anthony Volpe coming up to the plate in those moments? I'm going to tell you, I don't. I do not.
Yeah, and Volpe is also a guy that needs to swing at the first pitch. He takes like the best pitch every single time. Hitting 268 on that, hitting 215 when swing at the first pitch, not take it. He has a 323 batting average with balls in play on when swinging at the first pitch. He's a 270, which is not good. After taking the first pitch. So
you know why he's that way?
Why is that?
There was actually a player I used to play with in college, and we used to watch him go up there, and every time he'd swing at the first pitch, and they call it jumping, right? Jumping the pitcher. He's not expecting you to commit damage right there in the beginning of the at-bat. But anytime that first pitch just came and went and the ball comes back to the pitcher, that hitter, and I had an assistant coach come up to me and say, yeah, that kid, obviously I won't say his name here on the broadcast, he sucks. What? You're not used to hearing that. He's like, yeah, he's just not a very good player. When he comes back into this dugout, I'm going to tell him that you need to get more aggressive in the first pitch of the at-bat. And he's going to think it's that he's just a good fastball hitter. But he said, in reality, players that just dominate the first pitch of the at-bat, but they don't dominate at any other point, right? After 0-1, after 1-0, they don't dominate. It's because of he doesn't understand strikes, balls. He can't take pitches outside the zone. He doesn't know what to swing at. So the most attractive pitch for all hitters, if you're not good at determining what's a ball and what's a strike, the best thing to do is crash hit the first pitch of the at-bat. I'm sitting there looking at him like, why are you telling me
Now we
this?
know. Now we know who Volpe is.
Right. So if you ask yourself, if you're describing Anthony Volpe, would you describe him as a patient hitter that understands the strike zone? 100% of the people, if we ran a poll right now, they'd say, oh, hell no. He has no idea what's a strike and what's a ball. You see him chase all the time. Balls at his eyes, balls in the dirt. He can't determine what's a breaking ball, what's a strike, what's not. He takes fastballs down the middle. One moment he looks like a guess hitter. He doesn't read the strike zone well. That's like actually his biggest problem. So you determine that, and then you bring up the numbers that on the first pitch, he hits way better. And what's more likely to happen than any other count in baseball is to get a fastball middle on the first pitch of the at-bat.
Especially Volpe, because they know he's going to take it.
Yes, but then at the same time, and this is the trouble of playing in New York, just about 4 or 5 days ago, we had a huge situation with the bases loaded. Anthony Volpe comes up to the plate. He swings at the first pitch of the at-bat, and mind you, he takes one of the worst swings you've ever seen. Obviously, we saw the freeze frame of what that looked like, but everyone was criticizing, why are you swinging at the first pitch? The reason he's swinging at the first pitch is because he knows he has to. There's your answer. So I don't like it as much as you guys. You would love in those situations for a player to be able to trust himself, get deeper into a count. Maybe you get 2-1, 3-1, and then you can commit damage after that. Anthony Volpe's career numbers so far tell us that he's not working counts to be able to commit damage later. He's got to jump pitches right at the beginning of that bat, or he never does it all.
No, I like that explanation. I think really it's just as simple as this. When you look at the batting order position splits, it goes to show you Volpe is not somebody you want with runners in scoring position. He's not somebody you want high leverage. Yeah, occasionally Jason Dominguez is going to hit a pitch off, from batting on the right side hard, and it's going to be a hit. And occasionally you're going to have Ben Rice have a hit against lefties. And occasionally you're going to have Ichiro Suzuki hit a home run. But that does not mean that you can bank on that. So just because...
it can happen. It can definitely happen. I'm like...
Just because Anthony Volpe's hit a grand slam before does not mean that he is a high leverage player. He had a very good postseason. He hit in the 280s. I get that. But right now in the regular season, he's not having a good season. And so based on the numbers I have in front of me, telling me that he's a 252 hitter, hitting 8th, and he's a 242 hitter, hitting 7th, and he's 219 and 212, hitting 5th and 6th, I think it's a no-brainer. He shouldn't be in the middle of the lineup, and it's exactly what actually I'm gonna skip real quick. Hit Volpe 8th or 9th. When he gets hot, he table sets the top. When he sucks, he's just your 8-9 hitter. No big deal. Appreciate the 6'10" Stig. I just wanted to put that up there because that was kind of where my rationale was and my thought process. And again, I'm not trying to make the 6-1 loss all about Volpe, but I do think this could really help the team if you honestly just made a quick switch and say, looking at the roster right now or looking at the lineup right now, right? Mm-hmm. If you took Anthony Volpe and switched him for DJ LeMahieu, it's a completely different lineup.
Yeah, well,
Completely
you know what would
different.
have to happen for that to occur? And I'm going to go ahead and throw Brian's super chat up there, and I'm going to read it really fast. Thank you, Brian, for the 5. It says, can we
Thank you,
finally,
Brian.
are we going to admit that Volpe is not good? Yes, that's what the last 30 minutes was about, no question. But he says, is it time to give Ascara more starts? And we'll get to that maybe, but I want to get here to the end. He says, can we also admit Boone is a mediocre manager? I don't believe Boone is a mediocre manager. Here's the way I'm going to describe him. I'm not even going to waste my time giving you my perspective on him. He is an indecisive manager. When Jake, you just brought up the point, I would love to see Anthony Volpe slotted anywhere from 8 to 9. Just leave him there. Do not move him. If you're going to play him every day and you're going to refuse to take out his glove, I mean, all right, maybe I'll disagree with that. But am I really going to complain about an inconsistent bat if they're hitting 9th? Am I going to blame a 9-hitter in my lineup for not coming through with runners in scoring position for being a career 220 hitter? You'd be a fool to waste your time talking about that. But he's the 6-hitter for the New York Yankees. He's the shortstop every day for the New York Yankees. So, yeah, Brian, you can describe him as a mediocre manager. Like maybe that's your assessment. That's totally fine. But he's random. It's indecisive. Tomorrow, love it, Jake. No one knows where Volpe is going to be. He's probably going to play. You guys couldn't tell me right now where he's going to be in the lineup. He could be 6th. He could be 7th. He might even hit 9th, and people will say that they listen to this podcast. But you know what? If Volpe had 2 homers tomorrow out of the 9-hole, don't you know that you might look up and say, we got a lefty out there after the day off, and you'll see Volpe hitting 5th. It's stupid. No rhyme or reason at all.
Yeah.
It's just out of a hat and disappointing. So I expect Boone, who's been around baseball his whole life, to make these type of adjustments. You see former players like Alex Rodriguez talking about the importance of playing in the same spot every day. And yet you look up here and people say, no, it's not Boone making the lineup. It's these nerds. But then in the press conferences, Boone tells us he makes them. So I don't know who to believe.
Kyle says, need Ascara and Rice in lineup tomorrow. Yeah, against a righty tomorrow, you have, what's his name? Chase Burns? Is that his name?
That's right. And Carlos Rodon.
Chase Burns was the number 2 overall pick?
Something like that.
I really liked this guy coming out of college.
I was surprised to see his name when I actually clicked on the game. I had no idea this was happening. So good for him.
Yeah, no, he really stood out to me.
And thank you, Kyle.
And there was kind of like, I remember there was kind of like this thought that he could fall because of like some injury or something. And I was hoping he would for the Yankees to get him. I don't remember when he came out. It was like 2 years ago, I think. But yeah, I was definitely a pretty big fan of his game. And I'm going to check real quick when he came up, when he came out of college.
Okay, well, I'm going to tell you guys right now, it is going to be hot for this game. Carlos Rodon gave up 3 homers his last start. The main thing in this game, he's going to have to work that sinker into the mix. He just has to. You have to consider the weather. Is it freezing cold? Do I want to pitch guys inside?
He was drafted last year.
Right. Wow.
Yeah, number
Any
2
ball
overall.
in the air is going. It just is.
Way to
so
go,
this
Reds.
is a major test. Yeah, no, they did good. They did good. They just got to find a way to be more consistent. And at least they're over 500, so it's tracking. But we don't want any success
deadly
against
slider
us.
with this guy.
Yeah, hey, by the way, I'm only going to say this. We're only going to talk about Stan for about 5 seconds here. Giancarlo saw more sliders than a damn Chili's today. Did you notice how many sliders they threw him today? They was
insane.
0-1 fastball, 0-1, right? 1 changeup. You get ahead 0-2. It was just slider after slider. And he was, maybe you can say that's where the rust comes in. You don't necessarily adjust to out pitches quite as well, quite as easily. Who knows? But yeah, today was not one of those days for Giancarlo. Unfortunate.
Yeah, no, he's, so this is what Burns is, okay?
Mm-hmm.
He's going to give you a fastball that can touch 102. He's going to give you a disgusting slider, upper 80s.
You said 102?
Yeah, it can touch 102.
I think I'm ready to start taping Anthony Volpe's hands. He can't hold the bat anymore. I'm not sure what happened. He might as well just start getting his swing
Dude,
started
there's
now.
nothing worse. I've done it before. There's nothing worse than missing and throwing your bat. I didn't do it a lot. Like Volpe
I played
does
baseball
it like
almost
every
18
other.
years. I think I dropped my bat once, and I was like 11.
Yeah, no, I did it once, and once or twice, and it definitely it's embarrassing, and then you have to worry because like you can get keep in mind, obviously in the MLB, he's not getting tossed out of a game. You can get tossed out of like a Babe Ruth level game for doing that. Like you actually can because it's considered like a safety hazard. So
what a blessing to have to get thrown out of a Babe Ruth game.
I know, right?
Just hell on earth even being there.
So yeah, that's really that. I mean, he's going to give you a curve. He's going to give you a slider. Mind you, his slider, just so people understand, was a 70 out of 80 when he came out. That is really, really good. I mean, we're talking like that's like Paul Skeens had a lot of stuff in the 70s when he came out. So no one gets to 80. I feel like scouts won't even give players 80s because they just don't want to. That's like the end of the scale. So, yeah.
Yeah,
Tomorrow,
if you see an 80 on someone's grade, it essentially means
you should do everything you can to get him.
This pitch is going to essentially project as a top 3 pitch in Major League Baseball. If you see an 80 fastball, that means you're seeing movement, location, velocity, dominant, completely dominant.
Oh, yeah.
Like Garrett Cole had an 80 fastball pitching for the Astros, or when he first got to New York, where you saw 100 and it was on the corner. Yeah. So I'm here to tell you guys right now, we're going to need whatever the lineup needs to be. It better be correct tomorrow because you're going to see the stuff on the screen. But the one thing about young players, this is not always a given. He's going to be amped up for this game. You're going to have to be patient. He's probably going to miss location early in this game. So I want to look to see what the Yankees do early on. If the Yankees don't score through the first 2 or 3 innings, you might be in trouble, right? Where a young player starts to settle into a start with plus stuff. But if you can get on base, create some traffic, I know we're brilliant with runners in scoring position, but the Yankees got to find a way to get it done.
I'm going to make this very simple, Gary. Give me Carlos Rodon and over on the Ben Rice total bases.
I hit on Cody Bellinger, by the way.
You did. And we did not hit on Winans. That was not close. To be fair, he just had 10 strikeouts, and then he had 1. But he was very economical and got out of the inning pretty quickly.
Yeah, when you throw 90 mile-an-hour sinkers the whole start, I'm not betting on Case.
That's fair. So, you said...
Look at that. We got a Wally Pipp. We got a... Love the name. Boone has 0 rings. This fan base, man, we're awesome. It says, hey, Gary, you read up on Wally Pipp. That name is unbelievable.
Yeah, you need to actually look into him. He got a headache, right?
Yes.
So he couldn't play. And Lou Gehrig took over, and he never saw playing time again.
They're like,
bad.
He's like, hey, coach, just think, at that time, he was probably thinking to himself, man, I've just got a pounding headache. He probably grew up having migraines.
Yeah.
And then he's like, yeah, man, I'm just not going to be able to get through this. And they're like, hey, no worry. We'll have Lou go out there and just pitch in for you. All right, sounds good. And then he raked that day, probably was sitting there thinking to himself, he's like, oh, well, good for Lou. I'm nice to see him get it going. And then he turned into Lou Gehrig.
Exactly. It's like, man, that's brutal. It's almost like Norm Nixon being like, yeah, I have nothing to worry about. Magic Johnson's not, he's not going to take my job.
Yeah. Well, by the way, what number was Wally Pipp? I don't expect people to know this, but do you know by chance?
Do you know? Are you quizzing me?
Yeah. Well, I'm actually asking, does anyone know what number Wally Pipp was? That would be a great jersey for me to buy. If I'm going to buy another jersey, maybe that's for the giveaway we're doing. Because, of course, guys, subscribing to our channel, it enters you in when we get to 10,000 subscribers, which we should be inching very close to 7,000 right now. When we get to 10,000, we're giving up a authentic Yankees jersey. Can be road, right? Can be at home. Any jersey you want. But Wally Pipp would be a great jersey.
Okay, so apparently
Yeah, do they have numbers? I'm throwing that up. Great point, Ed. What number was Wally Pipp?
Wait, hold on a sec. So his headache? No, no. This is bad. So his
God,
headache,
he didn't have a. Oh, what was it?
No. Hear me out. It became a meme. You
Really?
just got Wally pipped. It's when somebody takes your job. So that's why I was looking it up. I was like looking up Wally Pipp's number, and it's like Wally Pipp, Bill Belichick, and all these people are like, yeah, they're like Drew Bledsoe got Wally pipped.
Oh, that's hilarious.
Dude,
Dude,
bro is literally
Wally
the first
Pipp had
meme
no
of his
number?
kind. But yeah, I don't actually know what number. I can't find it.
Oh.
I have no idea.
Played with the Yankees from 1915 to 1925. He was with us for a damn decade.
Yeah, he's a legend in a sense.
Come on.
He did not have a designated number.
Dude's a legend.
This dude literally did not have a number. That's what he's known for. This dude is known for having a headache and literally didn't have a number.
I can buy his card right now on eBay for $2.
You should. And you should put it in your backdrop because everyone would know.
Hey, chat, should I get a Wally Pipp poster and put it in the backdrop? He looks miserable in this photo. That's
he
insane.
looks happy in like every photo.
Yeah, well, anyways, make sure, guys, if you sign up with ProfitX, use the code YanksU. Helps us out a ton. And, of course, subscribing enters you in to our giveaway, most importantly. We are growing fast. So thank you, guys. You guys have been awesome. Do it. Yeah. There you have it. Wally Pipp. Might be difficult for me to get a poster of him, but I'll make it work. I promise you I'll get it done.
Do we have a comment?
No.
What should Wally Pipp's number have been?
Yeah. Either what do you think it should have been, or just drop Wally Pipp in the comment section. I think that would prove enough. I mean, you sat here through an hour and 7. This podcast was easily more entertaining than today's baseball game.
Without a doubt.
But we appreciate you guys a ton.
The
drop
comment
Wally
section
Pipp.
was.
Yeah. Drop Wally Pipp. I didn't even know how to spell it. I spelt it wrong in Google, and it just popped up. Drop Wally Pipp in the comment section after we're done. I know it's kind of a pain. It would be nice if it just transferred over, but yeah, and make sure you guys like the video.
Yeah, do that.